The private orbital station hung silently in the vast black canvas of space, a gleaming testament to human ambition and corporate might. Through the expansive windows, the Earth spun quietly, a distant blue orb set against the endless void. The station's interior was sleek, all polished metal and illuminated panels. The hum of life-sustaining machinery, a constant, reassuring drone. Alex adjusted the strap on his security harness, his sharp eyes scanning every inch as he drifted forward. This was no ordinary assignment. The corporate summit commencing here was a convergence of the most powerful factions in the business world, each with stakes higher than anyone on the station could openly admit. And with power came the promise of betrayal. His footsteps, or rather, the gentle push-offs that replaced them in zero gravity, were quiet against the smooth floors as he moved toward the central hub. Delegates in tailored suits and smart dresses floated in clusters. Their conversations, a low murmur punctuated occasionally by the clink of glasses or the soft laughter of calculated politeness. Alex noted the practiced smiles and veiled glances exchanged. Here, every smile could mask a dagger. Near a wall panel, he caught a flicker of movement, shadow darting just beyond the edge of light. The panel's surface shimmered briefly. Alex's brow furrowed. It was subtle, easily missed by anyone not paying close attention. But he was. His instincts, honed by years of security work and a personal history scarred by sabotage, told him this was no accident. He made his way to the science bay, where Dr. Lena Ortiz was already at work. She looked up as he entered, her curly black hair framing a face marked by intelligence and quiet determination. "Dr. Ortiz," Alex greeted, voice steady despite the tension tightening his chest. "Any updates on the station's systems?" She adjusted her glasses, eyes meeting his with a spark of resolve. "All nominal so far, but I've been monitoring some minor fluctuations in the power grid. Could be nothing, but in this environment, even minor glitches can be dangerous." Alex nodded. "Keep me informed. We can't afford surprises." Their conversation was brief, overshadowed by the arrival of Marcus Vale, a tall man whose calculating gaze seemed to weigh everything and everyone. Alex's instincts flagged Marcus as a wild card, his loyalties unclear, his agenda wrapped in layers of corporate intrigue. Across the room, Vivian Cade made her entrance. Elegant and composed, her platinum blonde hair a striking contrast to the sterile environment. She moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to power. Alex watched as she surveyed the room, her piercing blue eyes missing nothing. The summit was underway. Alex's mind raced as the formal announcement echoed through the comm system, announcing the gathering's commencement. The stakes were higher than ever, and he knew the shadows hiding beneath the polished surface of the station could be deadly. As he floated toward his post, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that Helix 1 was less a place of progress and more a powder keg waiting for a spark. Somewhere in the silence of space, the first move had been made. He tightened his grip on the security console floating before him, preparing to dive deep into a web of espionage and betrayal that would test every ounce of his skill and resolve. The journey had begun. Security Officer Alex Mercer moved through the narrow corridors with practiced ease, his lean frame adapting fluidly to the zero-gravity environment. The corporate summit was underway, but beneath the polished surface of professional decorum, Alex sensed something was deeply off. As he began his routine security sweep, the first anomalies caught his attention almost immediately. The corridor lights flickered briefly, a subtle but irregular pattern that shouldn't have been there. The station's power grid was designed with redundancies, able to reroute energy in the event of failure. Yet, these glitches seemed deliberate, a hidden pulse beneath the station's pristine operation. Alex's sharp eyes scanned the area, noting the faint scent of recycled air mixed with a metallic temps that suggested minor electrical discharge. The soft hum of the station's machinery was punctuated by distant voices. Delegates engaged in conversations that, while outwardly polite, carried an unmistakable edge. Paranoia, he thought, was a natural consequence in this high-stakes atmosphere, yet his instincts told him it was more than that. Rounding a corner, Alex entered the station's laboratory, where the chief scientist, Dr. Lena Ortiz, was already at work. She was a figure of calm determination, her medium height and curly black hair distinctive under the complex glow of holographic displays. Adjusting her glasses, she studied the system diagnostics with meticulous care. "Alex," she greeted, her voice steady but tinged with concern. "We've detected some irregularities in the environmental control systems. Not catastrophic yet, but definitely outside normal parameters." Alex nodded, stepping closer to the translucent screen that pulsed with data streams. "Do you think it's sabotage?" Lena's eyes darkened slightly. "It's possible. The glitches coincide with some unusual network activity I picked up this morning. Someone is probing our systems, testing vulnerabilities." The implications sent a chill down Alex's spine. Helix 1 was not just a station, it was a fortress for corporate power. Any breach could be catastrophic. As they conferred, Alex's mind raced through the list of delegates. Among them was Marcus Vale, a corporate strategist whose ambiguous loyalties had already raised flags. Alex recalled their brief encounter earlier that day, Marcus's polite smile barely masking a calculating gaze. Later that afternoon, during a summit briefing, Alex observed Marcus closely. The man's every gesture seemed measured, his eyes darting with subtle calculation. He exchanged brief, almost imperceptible signals with other delegates, conversations laced with double meanings. Trust was a scarce commodity here. Alex's suspicion deepened when he returned to the maintenance bay, a cramped compartment filled with the mechanical heartbeats of the station. Floating in zero gravity, he inspected a panel that had been tampered with. The subtle scratches and misaligned wiring spoke volumes. Someone was sabotaging the station from within. The quiet of the bay was broken only by the faint hiss of pressurized air and the soft clank of tools. The weightlessness contrasted starkly with the heaviness settling in Alex's chest. This was no ordinary malfunction. It was a calculated strike. Back in the lab, Alex and Lena pooled their findings. Their collaboration, a fragile alliance forged in the shadow of growing danger. They mapped the anomalies, cross-referenced the network logs, and began piecing together a pattern. Espionage was no longer a theory. It was a reality unfolding beneath their feet. Despite the tension, Alex remained methodical, his analytical mind refusing to succumb to panic. He knew the stakes, the lives aboard Helix 1, the future of the summit, and his own survival depended on uncovering the truth before the sabotage escalated beyond control. As the chapter closed, the station's corridors felt less like a place of diplomacy and more like a chessboard where every move could be deadly. Alex's gaze hardened with resolve. The game had begun, and he was ready to play. "This isn't just technical glitches," he muttered under his breath. "It's a message, and I intend to find out who's sending it." Alex Mercer moved with practiced ease through the narrow passageways, his lean frame adjusting effortlessly to the absence of gravity. Every step, or rather push, was deliberate, conserving precious energy as he navigated toward the source of the latest anomaly of power. Fluctuation that had rippled through the station's critical systems. His sharp eyes scanned the corridor ahead, where the soft hum of failing machinery mingled with the faint buzz of emergency alarms. The pristine silence of the orbital station was fractured, and with it, the fragile sense of security that had held the summit's attendees in check. As Alex rounded a corner into a dimly lit maintenance bay, a shadow shifted ahead. He jerked to a halt, muscles coiled and senses primed. The figure emerged smoothly from the shadows, his tall silhouette sharply outlined against the flickering lights. Marcus Vale. Marcus's calculating gaze met Alex's with an unsettling calm. "Detective work already, Mercer?" he asked, voice smooth but guarded. Alex's eyes narrowed. "You could say that. These power fluctuations aren't accidents. Someone's playing a dangerous game." His tone was steady but carried a note of warning. Marcus smiled thinly, floating closer, the lack of gravity allowing a fluid grace to his movements. "Dangerous games are part of corporate life. You should know that better than most." The air between them thickened with unspoken tension. Alex studied Marcus carefully, the way his eyes flicked away just a moment too soon, the subtle tightening of his jaw. There was something beneath the polished veneer, a shadow lurking just out of reach. "I'm watching you," Alex said quietly, "and I'm not alone." Marcus's smile faded, replaced by a cold glint. "Then you'd better watch your back." The conversation was cut short as the station's lights flickered violently, plunging the corridor into near darkness. A metallic clang echoed somewhere down the hall, followed by the sudden activation of emergency lighting that bathed the area in harsh red. Alex's pulse quickened. Power fluctuation confirmed. His cum crackled softly. Life support systems are stable but compromised. He propelled himself swiftly toward the control hub, muscles tense with urgency. The zero-gravity environment made every movement a careful calculation too fast, and he risked collision. Too slow, and precious seconds would be lost. Reaching the security office, Alex anchored himself to a console and scanned the flickering monitors. Data streams jumped erratically across the screens, fragmented and incomplete. The sabotage was no longer subtle. It was escalating, threatening to spiral out of control. Dr. Lena Ortiz's voice came over the calm but urgent. "Alex, the systems are straining. We need to isolate the source before the station's integrity is compromised." Alex's fingers danced over the controls, piecing together the sabotage's pattern. Each anomaly formed part of a larger puzzle, one that pointed toward a deliberate and sophisticated attack. He leaned back, eyes narrowing. Marcus is involved, or at least, he knows more than he's letting on. The cold weight of suspicion settled heavier in the confined space. Trust was fraying, alliances shifting like the station's unpredictable gravity. Alex rose, ready to confront the tangled web of deceit. The shadow of betrayal floated just beyond reach, as elusive and dangerous as the void outside. And in the zero-gravity depths of Helix 1, every shadow could be the last. Alex drifted through the station's central hub, the blue glow of overhead lights casting long, wavering shadows on the curved walls. The hum of machinery was omnipresent, but now laced with an undercurrent of menace. Every creak, every flicker of light was a reminder that beneath the summit's polished surface, something rotten was festering. Marcus Vale appeared from an adjoining corridor, his crisp suit a stark contrast to the utilitarian environment. The two men circled each other in the weightless expanse, their bodies twisting gently as they spoke. "You're making a lot of enemies," Marcus said, voice low and sardonic. "Better that than being the one they trust to stab in the back," Alex replied. "What's your game, Marcus?" "Survival," Marcus said simply. "In this game, loyalty is a currency no one can afford to spend freely." Alex's gaze sharpened. "I'm not playing games. The tension between them was palpable, the silence punctuated only by the distant beeping of alarms. Suddenly, the station jolted, a shudder rippling through the hull. The emergency lights flared, bathing the area in urgent red. "Power failure in Sector 7, a voice announced over the intercom. Alex's heart pounded as he propelled himself toward the affected area, mind racing through protocols and contingencies. The station was a cage, and the saboteur was tightening the lock. Back at the security office, Alex convened with Chief Engineer Raj Patel and Dr. Lena Ortiz. Screens displayed a map of the station with highlighted trouble spots. "The saboteur is targeting systems systematically," Raj explained, frustration clear in his voice. "Life support, power grids, communications," Dr. Ortiz added. "We're patching vulnerabilities as fast as we find them, but it's a losing battle if we can't identify the source." Alex nodded grimly. "We need to flush out the mole. Marcus might be the key or the threat." Raj glanced at Alex. "You think he's involved?" "I don't know yet," Alex admitted, "but I'm watching him closely." The room felt smaller, the weight of isolation pressing down despite the high-tech surrounds. Outside, the stars blinked coldly, indifferent to the human drama unfolding within Helix 1. Later, in the quiet of his quarters, Alex floated alone. His mind replayed the encounter with Marcus, the shifting glances, the half-truths. The zero gravity gave a surreal quality to the space, but his thoughts were grounded in stark reality. The sabotage was escalating. Time was running out. And in the shadows of Helix 1, trust was the most fragile commodity of all. As he stared out at the infinite void, a single question echoed relentlessly. Who could he trust when every ally might be an enemy? The answer would decide the fate of the station and everyone aboard. He clenched his fists. Yet beneath the gleaming surfaces and polished presentations, a storm brewed, one of suspicion, fractured loyalties, and whispered betrayals. Alex Mercer floated through the narrow corridors of the station, his sharp eyes scanning for any unusual movement. The zero-gravity environment lent an eerie grace to the interactions around him, but he knew better than to be lulled by appearances. The summit's attendees were a powder keg of ambition and hidden agendas. Every glance, every hushed conversation could conceal a threat. He paused near the observation deck, a glass pane revealing the vast, star-studded void beyond. Clusters of delegates gathered in tight circles, their voices low and tense. Alex's gaze narrowed as he noted the subtle signs of unease, flicker of a suspicious look, a barely concealed scowl, a hand tightening around a glass of synthetic water. The alliances he had once thought stable now seemed fissured, shifting under the pressure of the mounting sabotage. Dr. Lena Ortiz met him in the lab, her expression grave but resolute. The sterile room hummed with the low thrum of computers and life support systems. Holographic schematics floated in the air, casting a pale blue glow over their faces. "The patterns are more deliberate than we first assumed," Lena said, tapping a cluster of data points. "These aren't random failures. Someone is targeting specific systems to cause maximum disruption." Alex leaned in, his brow furrowed. "But who, and why now?" Lena exhaled sharply. "That's what we're trying to figure out. The sabotage aligns too closely with the summit's key operations to be coincidental. Someone wants to send a message or worse." Their alliance was uneasy. Alex, the hardened security officer, and Lena, the empathetic scientist, but necessity forced cooperation. Together, they sifted through layers of encrypted logs and system anomalies, piecing together a puzzle that grew darker with every revelation. Meanwhile, Marcus Vale remained an enigma wrapped in a tailored suit. Alex found himself drawn into tense exchanges with the charismatic delegate, whose shifting loyalties and elusive answers only deepened the web of intrigue. In a narrow zero-gravity corridor, the two men faced each other. Marcus's calculating gaze met Alex's sharp eyes, the silence between them thick with unspoken challenges. "You realize this summit is a chessboard," Marcus said smoothly. "Every move counts, and some pieces will fall." Alex's voice was steady but cold. "I intend to make sure I'm the one controlling the board." The conversation was a dance of half-truths and veiled threats, the station's silence amplifying their quiet words. Suddenly, alarms blared, and the lights dimmed abruptly. A power fluctuation had plunged a section of Helix 1 into darkness, the emergency systems kicking in with harsh red glows. The wail of sirens echoed down the corridors, mingling with frantic footsteps and urgent commands. Alex's heart pounded as he activated his comlink. "Status report. Life support in Sector 7 is compromised." Lena's voice crackled through. "We're working to stabilize it, but the sabotage is escalating." The chaos underscored the fragile state of trust aboard the station. Delegates eyed each other with growing suspicion, alliances fraying under the strain. Alex moved swiftly, coordinating with his team and the engineering crew, knowing that every second counted. Back in the control room, Lena's fingers flew over the console, rerouting power and analyzing data streams. "Whoever's behind this knows the station intimately," she murmured. "This isn't just sabotage, it's a declaration of war." Alex clenched his jaw. The summit was unraveling, the corporate facades cracking to reveal raw ambition and betrayal. In the zero-gravity confines of Helix 1, trust was a rare commodity and one that could mean the difference between survival and catastrophe. As the station stabilized, for now, Alex's thoughts churned. The fractures among the delegates were deeper than he had imagined. Marcus's shifting stance was a constant shadow, a reminder that the enemy might be closer than he dared to admit. The night stretched on, the quiet after the storm, a fragile veil over the mounting tension. Alex knew this was only the beginning. The true test lay ahead, one that would push him to the edge of endurance and force him to confront the fractured loyalties, threatening to tear Helix 1 apart from within. And in the endless expanse of space, there was nowhere to run. With a steadying breath, Alex prepared for the next move, knowing that every choice carried weight in this deadly game of espionage and survival. The shadows were deepening, and the stakes had never been higher. "We have to find the saboteur before it's too late," Alex said quietly to Lena, the resolve in his voice echoing through the sterile air. The game was on and the price of failure was unthinkable. His eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the length of the hallway, reflexively seeking out the slightest irregularity. But it wasn't just the immediate threat of sabotage occupying his mind. It was the echoes of a past that refused to let go. A flicker of movement caught his peripheral vision, but when he turned, there was nothing but the artificial light bouncing off the metallic walls. Still, the sensation triggered a flood of memories he had tried to bury deep beneath layers of professional detachment. Years ago, on a station not unlike this one, a sabotage had nearly ended in catastrophe. The failure to stop it had haunted Alex ever since, each survivor's face etched indelibly in his mind. The weight of that failure pressed down on him now as he floated in the zero-gravity environment. The isolation intensified by the vast emptiness of space just beyond the station's bulkheads. The silence was less comforting and more oppressive, a reminder of how alone he truly was in this fight. He clenched his fists, forcing himself to focus on the present. The anomalies he had noticed, the subtle power fluctuations, The unexplained sensor failures were signs that the saboteur was active and growing bolder. His mind raced through protocols and possible suspects, each thought tinged with the paranoia that had been creeping in since his arrival at Helix 1. Later, in the cramped confines of the station's laboratory, the soft glow of holographic displays bathed the room in blue light. Dr. Lena Ortiz sat hunched over a console, her fingers dancing across the controls as she analyzed data streams. Alex watched her, the contrast between her calm, methodical approach and his jittery energy striking. "These patterns," Lena said quietly, "they're not random. Someone is deliberately targeting the station's core systems, but they're masking their tracks exceptionally well." Alex nodded, the tension in his shoulders easing only slightly. "We need to anticipate their next move. Every second we waste increases the risk." Their whispered conversation was punctuated by the distant creaks and groans of the station settling into its orbit, the vastness of space visible through the viewport beyond. The emptiness was a constant reminder of their vulnerability. Security briefing came next, held in the command center, a claustrophobic room lined with monitors and controls. The team gathered: Jenna Wu, his dependable subordinate, and Chief Engineer Raj Patel, whose calm demeanor was a steadying influence. Alex addressed the group, his voice steady despite the storm of doubt raging inside. "We've identified multiple sabotage attempts, focusing on life support and power systems. We're facing an adversary who knows this station intimately. We must tighten protocols and monitor all personnel closely." Eyes flickered with fear and resolve. Jenna's fingers hovered over her communication pad, ready to respond to any threat. Raj nodded thoughtfully, already calculating repair priorities should systems fail again. But beneath the surface of this professional facade, tensions simmered. Alex's cautious nature and tendency toward distrust began to create fissures in the team's cohesion. His flashbacks made him overly wary, sometimes dismissing suggestions or second-guessing allies, and it was clear to him and to those around him that the stress was taking its toll. That night, alone in his quarters, Alex sat staring out at the swirling stars beyond the station's reinforced glass. The cold beauty of space was both a comfort and a torment, a vastness that mirrored the chasm inside his mind. The faces of those lost in the previous sabotage haunted his thoughts, their silent accusations echoing in the quiet. But he knew he couldn't afford weakness, not now. The past had shaped him, forged a relentless determination that now propelled him forward. The saboteur aboard Helix 1 was a deadly puzzle, but Alex was determined to solve it even if the cost meant confronting the ghosts within himself. Suddenly, his communication device beeped sharply, jolting him from his reverie. A new alert, another anomaly detected in the station's environmental controls. The threat was escalating. Alex took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. The game had changed. There was no turning back. "Time to move," he muttered to himself, rising with renewed purpose. As he prepared to step back into the fray, the weight of his past and the pressing danger of the present collided, forging a resolve as unyielding as the metal walls around him.